All right, we're back with Chapter 2, Financial Markets and Institutions. We're going to go over the capital allocation process, financial markets, financial institutions, stock markets and returns, and stock market efficiency. So, how is capital transferred between savers and borrowers? Direct transfers, investment banks, financial intermediaries. The easiest way I have to explain this is, let's say you have $50,000 and you want it to be safe. You go down to your local bank, you put the $50,000 in there, they're going to give you 1% on your money. The bank then takes that money and loans it out to 1, 10, 20 people at interest rates of 5, 10 to 20%, whatever it is. The bank makes money on the difference between the interest rate they're paying the saver and the borrower, and that's how the bank makes the money. And then that's how money gets loaned from savers to spenders to try to grow the money. Capital flows efficiently for those who supply capital to those who demand it. Suppliers of capital, individuals and institutions with excess fund, these are the people that are saving money and they want to get a rate of return on their investment. Demanders or users of capitals, individuals and institutions who needs to raise funds to finance their investment opportunities, these groups are willing to pay a rate of return on the capital they borrow. So, suppliers of capital, people that are looking to get more money back on their money, investing it. Demanders or users of capital, they want to borrow money so that way they could grow a product or service to make money on that. So, like the bank borrows money from savers and then loans it out to individuals or businesses. You also have large institutions that will lend out money to institutions. And so these demanders or users of capital, they might be borrowing money at 8%, but they think their business can earn 12%. So remember the example of the bank, they borrow money at 1% and loan it out at 5%, they make that 4% interest. Demanders or users of capital are doing the same type of thing. They're borrowing money at 8%, and then they think they can get 12% return on that money, or whatever they think it is. So, what is the market? A market is a venue where goods and services are exchanged. A farmer's market is a great example of this. You have a whole bunch of people with their shops that they've grown or made things, and people come and buy those things. A financial market is a place where individuals and organizations, when to borrow funds, are brought together with those having a surplus of funds. The bond market is much, much larger than the stock market. And there's more volume on the bond market than there is on the stock market. So, types of financial markets: physical versus financial assets, stuff you can hold versus stuff on paper, money versus capital, primary versus secondary, public versus private, spots versus futures. The importance of financial markets. Well-functioning financial markets facilitate the flow of capital from investors to the users of capital. So people that are trying to invest money to make it, to people that need the money to grow the economy. Markets provide savers with returns on their money that is saved and invested, which provide them money in the future. Markets provide users of capital with the necessary funds to finance their investment projects. Well-functioning markets promote economic growth, so that way the people that have money can lend money to those people that need money to create jobs, things, services. Economies with well-developed markets perform better than economies with poorly functioning market. If you have a great idea, but you can't get the money to implement that idea just because of how the markets work, that's a poorly functioning market. Derivatives. So what are derivatives? How can they be used to reduce or increase risk? A derivative security value is derived from the price of another security, the option in the future. Can be used to hedge or reduce risk. For an example, an importer whose profit falls when the dollar loses value could purchase currency futures that do well when the dollar weakens. That way they're lessening their risk. That way they're not going to lose as much money if bad things happen. Also, speculators can use derivatives to bet on the direction of future stock prices, interest rates, exchange rates, commodity prices. In many cases, these transactions produce high returns if you guess right, but large losses if you guess wrong. Derivatives can increase risk if you're being more of a speculator. And so the types of financial institutions: investment banks, commercial banks, financial service corporations, pensions funds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, hedge funds, private equity funds. There are lots of different financial institutions. The kind we're most used to that we all deal with are commercial banks. Stock market transactions. Apple decides to issue additional stock with the assistance of an investment banker. An investor purchases some of the newly issued shares. Is this a primary market transaction or a secondary market transaction? And the answer is, since new shares of stock are being issued, this is a primary market transaction. And remember, stockholders are owners of the corporation. The board of directors represents the stockholders, which in turn oversees the CEO, who oversees the day-to-day operations. What if instead an investor buys existing shares of Apple stock on the open market? Is that a primary or secondary market transaction? Since there's no new shares created, it's a secondary market transaction. So if you have an Ally account or you're a day trader, those are mainly secondary market transactions. What is an IPO? An IPO stands for an initial public offering, and it occurs when a company issues stock in the public market for the first time. So the first time a company goes public. Going public enables a company's owners to raise capital from a wide variety of outside investors. Once issued, the stock trades in the secondary market. Or if you're an owner and you have shares, you might be able to cash out some of those shares for money. So the capital you built into the company, now you can start removing some of that by selling your ownership of the company. The thing you have to remember though is public companies are subject to additional regulations and reporting requirements, so it can create a whole nother layer of regulatory burden. Here we're seeing the S&P 500 index total returns, dividend yield plus capital gain or loss for about the last, that's what, 50 years there. You can see most years the stock market is going up. On average, the stock market has averaged an 11% return, which means that every 6.5 years your money would double if you invested in the stock market in like a spider fund. What is meant by stock market efficiency? Securities are normally in equilibrium and are fairly priced. Investors cannot beat the market except through good luck or better information. Basically, it's saying all the information is out there and that most stocks at a given time are within their value. They're fairly priced. So unless you guess lucky and you buy stock before they have earnings and they're very good earnings, so the stock price goes up, but at the moment you bought it, it was fairly priced. Now, some highly inefficient ones are small companies not followed by many analysts. There's not much contact with investors. And then more highly efficient ones, large companies followed by many, many people. And so some of the implications of market efficiency: you hear in the news that a medical research company received FDA approval for one of its products. If the market is highly efficient, can you expect to take advantage of this information by purchasing the stock? No. If the market is efficient, the information will already have been incorporated in the company's stock price. So it's probably too late for you to capitalize on the information. So some implications of market efficiency: a small investor has been reading about a hot IPO that is scheduled to go public later this week. She wants to buy as many shares as she can get her hands on, is planning to buy a whole bunch of the stock. Would you advise her to do this? If you read the chapter, you would know that the long run track record of hot IPOs is not great. Unless you can get in on the ground floor as partial owner or you get an allocation of shares, you're probably going to lose money because IPOs generally go down from the get-go and then eventually regain. And then behavioral finance, possible implications for market efficiency. It is costly and or risky for traders to take advantage of mispriced assets. So if you think you know more than the market and you're here in Nebraska reading Yahoo Finance, you probably don't, because there's professionals that are looking at those assets looking for good deals. However, cognitive bias causes investors to make systematic mistakes that lead to inefficiencies. This is known as behavioral finance. Behavioral finance borrows insights from psychology to better understand how irrational behavior can be sustained over time. Evaluating risk differently in up and down markets, investors become anchored to certain viewpoints and fail to optimally respond to a new information that conflicts with their existing views. So if you like Tesla stock because you like Elon Musk, you might not see some of the deficiencies when their earnings report comes out and they're selling less cars because you have bought into Elon Musk, not the financials of Tesla. Or if you're a Ford person or a Chevy person or whatever that might be, your viewpoints can and will affect how you view a company and whether or not you're willing to take a risk on that company. All right, that's chapter 2. Good luck with the homework this week. Let me know if you have any questions.